up to my dorks, dweebs, geeks, nerds, otaku, and weebs? Welcome to another episode of Co-op for Life. I'm your geeky double agent, Player 1, aka SageMonk.
And this is Player 2, aka JPuff.
Much like the hint that we should be taking from these trash matches that we're involved in tonight on Black Ops 4, we're answering the question, when do we know that it's time to let go? We had a couple people hit us up and ask the question because they're struggling with the decision of how they can endure in their relationship before they should throw in the towel and admit they're making me miserable and they're not going to change.
And I think both you and I can probably speak from some life experiences on this one.
Yeah, I was the master of waiting entirely too long to let someone go. Most of it came from the fact that I suffered from that nice guy syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So I figured, A, I could change them, which was a complete fallacy, which I'll get into later.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I needed a big enough reason to be able to let them go and feel like I'm not the bad guy. Because even when they were dogging me out, I still felt like, oh, if I just leave, it's not a good enough reason. You know, I'm just copping out. I'm giving up. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did you know?
Okay. Well, here's one funny, obvious indicator. Don't try this at home, please. When you get into that argument, and this happened to me in college, I was with someone and we had been going back and forth pretty heavy the past 2 weeks. Okay. And we got at the end of the argument and I said the worst things that you could ever say as a man to a woman that is not liking you at the moment, or really has just, you've gotten on their last nerves, or they're just done with you.
What did you say?
All right, fine. If it's like that, tell me what you don't like about me then.
Oh no, she unleashed it.
So 2 hours later, I'm not even joking.
Oh God.
So 2 hours later, I found out she didn't like how my glasses fit on my face.
Oh Lord.
She didn't like how I chewed, and it's not because I chew like a cow or anything. I just take a long time to chew. And that used to just get on her last nerves because she wanted to shovel it to the back of her throat and go. Okay? Pause. But, she read me front to back about all the things she didn't like about me. She pretty much took a toilet paper roll and just whipped it out and just let it roll of complaints.
Gosh.
So that was the first.
Was that just like a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Got you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Another way that I knew it was time to let go.
And you always have to do what's best for you, ultimately, because you're what's important.
Right. I'm not saying be a jerk.
No, me either. I'm not saying be a jerk either, but you always have to put yourself and your well-being and your happiness before anyone else's. And I think that's hard to learn even at a young age, much less even middle age or on any age. Again,
how do you know it's over? If you sit down and you realize you're having way more bad days with that person than good days, it might be time to let go. And again, everybody has their spells. There's times where you have a rough patch.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing nothing, if the person is doing nothing to improve at all, not even acknowledging there's something wrong at all, you have to think to yourself, why am I in this? What am I getting out of this? And why is this person still at the top of my list?
Well, I think you have instances too where the person might even acknowledge it but isn't willing to change. They know how they're being and not willing to change.
Right, and that's what gets me to what I was alluding to earlier about being that guy that felt like they could change someone. You cannot change someone.
Mm-mm.
They can only change themselves. And so many times, it takes like an act of God or a lightning bolt or them hitting rock bottom or something like that. Mm-hmm. If they think they're fine, they're not going to change.
Right.
And I thought that by setting a good example of how you should treat someone, following that golden rule, treating people the way you want to be treated,
mm-hmm.
that they would do the same.
Not always.
No, because you kind of get the person that you have. Mm-hmm. However they come to you, generally that's how they're going to stay because their personality is set.
Right.
So I had gotten to the point where I was so locked into the relationship. And I think many of you out there understand what I mean. And you can comment in the section below with your own stories. But I had gotten to the point where I wanted that person to be the ideal of who they were and not who they really were. And I was almost getting to the point where I was trying to form around all of their idiosyncrasies and all of their faults to try to get them to be a better person. Mm-hmm. I had to take the advice of a very wise woman that I know. And she said, one day you're going to stop worrying about if you're good enough for them, and you're going to start asking yourself, are they good enough for you?
Great advice.
And I sat down and I had to think about it, and I said, oh my God, I have all these things going for me, and there are people out here who would be much better for me and treat me much better. So why am I worried about this one person that isn't good enough for me? Right. Also, another reason that you can see that it's over is if you guys aren't moving in the same direction. That's
a good one.
Yeah, if they're not where you're going in life, and you know they're not where you're going in life. It may be you're going out to college and they don't want to go. It might be you want to better yourself and they don't want to.
You want kids and they don't, or vice versa.
You might want to commit and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to let go because they're not going to change their mind. And you want what you want, and you're allowed to want what you want and not be a jerk for it.
Right.
You two just aren't compatible, and that's okay. That doesn't mean go out and cheat or anything like that. Break up in a dignified way and just let them know, hey, you know what? This isn't working. This isn't for me. You're going to be a bad guy to someone in your life one day. For you to do what you want to do for you, you're going to step on some other people's toes because they're not you, and they're not going to want exactly what you want. So you're going to make somebody mad in life. And if that takes you making someone mad temporarily, but understandably, for you to be happy, you got to pull that trigger, or you're going to be miserable, and you're eventually going to do something stupid to make them miserable, whether it is cheating, whether it is treating them badly, whether it is harming yourself in some way just to cope.
Mm-hmm. I definitely hear what you're saying. I know that I don't have a lot of instances, I guess, to speak on for myself from life experience, because the one and only relationship I ended was a marriage of after 20 some years. But I knew it was over. I just feel like because we had become friends, you know, we did have different things in common, and I don't know. I guess I don't want to really speak ill of him because there was no real thing he did wrong. I just feel like we grew apart and grew in different directions, and we're headed in different ways, and I think I was giving a lot to the relationship. I was giving 150% to the relationship where he wasn't giving much, and it just became tiring, and I had to think of myself and what was good for me, and that's when, you know, I had decided to do what was best for me at the time and end the marriage. But, you know, it's tough. It's a hard decision to do no matter, you know, what age you are. If you're just dating someone or an engagement or in a marriage, you know, whatever. It's a tough decision, but ultimately you have to do what's good for you.
I mean, if you're putting way more energy into keeping a relationship together than the other person, they don't want it as bad as you do.
Yeah.
So you find somebody who wants you as much as you want them. Mm-hmm. And you know it's over if you're just on fumes. You're the one powering the relationship and they could care less. Mm-hmm. It's over. They've already checked out. Mm-hmm. And before something happens that is drastic to you or super hurts your feelings, just recognize and say, hey, you know what? Okay, I'll be adult enough to say this is done. And you might not want to because you're comfortable with having someone even if you're not in love with them. You can love someone, but not be in love with them.
Very true.
And if you're in a relationship where you have love for somebody, but you're not in love with them, it's not a relationship anymore. Relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like a friendship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you want to be in a relationship, or, you know, not a situationship. Mm-hmm. Another sign that it could be over. If you feel better about yourself, or more like your old self when you're around other people, or you don't recognize yourself when you're with your significant other anymore, it's time to go.
Right.
You've lost who you were being with this person, or you just don't even feel the same anymore. Your friends are like, let me make a disclaimer for this because your friends can get you in trouble by throwing that, you're not the same person you used to be. You have to take that with a grain of salt. But if you know you're not yourself anymore, if you're not the happy person you used to be, if you're not doing the things that you used to do that made you happy, that gave you some purpose, if you've lost yourself in another person, it's probably time to go. Because you got to reclaim yourself somewhere in that relationship. And if they're not letting you reclaim yourself, that's a problem. Now, it's cool if they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should do the things that you used to do. I support you. Go ahead and be happy. But if they're telling you, nah, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this, and you aren't hurting anybody, you're not hurting the relationship, but you're not doing the things that you used to do to make you happy, it's time to let it go.
Right.
Because you've lost yourself. And what happens is once we get out of that relationship, we're like, oh my God, I remember I used to do this. I used to do that. I used to do all of these fun things. And boy, when did I stop doing that? And you realize sometime in a relationship, you just stop doing it.
No, that makes total sense. And I think in relationships, like, you have to find a common ground too. Like, I think it's good to do things together, and then also, let each person be their own person too if they want to. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you and I just enjoy spending every moment together, so we're pretty inseparable. But
yeah, we're cute.
But I also know that we support each other if we need some me time, or you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I always tell you, go hang out with your friends if you want to, and you do the same for me.
Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah, so
look, if you like it, I love it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But a very large sign, and I need to throw this out, you would think it's obvious, but for some people it's not. Mm-hmm. If you want to put your hands on the other person, like you really want to box them, mm-hmm. right? You're trying to lay them out like MMA style in your head. You've hit them with all kind of bricks, frying pans, cars, Hadoukens, whatever you can think of. It's time to go. And vice versa. I mean, duh. If they're putting their hands on you, mm-hmm. it's time to go. So if there's mutual Mortal Kombat on either side of this relationship and you really want to finish them, you should leave.
Right.
Because you should never want to put your hands in a serious manner on somebody you love.
Right.
If they're getting to you that badly, it's not working out. Because putting your hands on somebody to get them to do what you want them to do is never the move. No.
And I mean, that goes both in all ways.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Men, women, just whatever. Yeah, I mean, abusive relationships is a whole nother thing, but it's, it's not a positive
whether you're the abuser or
right.
the abusee, it's time to go.
Right, no, completely agree.
All we're saying is, you need to love yourself enough to know that you matter.
Absolutely.
If you're not happy in a relationship, for whatever reason, you have the right to say it's not working. Though that's going to hurt the other person's feelings, do it respectfully. Because it could be anything as large as, hey, I have a career move that you're not supporting and I gotta follow it. Or something as minuscule as, hey, you know what? I really, really don't like the way the glasses fit on your face. I really don't. And I'm sorry, but that really bothers me, and I cannot look at your face anymore because it looks like a Picasso painting, and it drives me nuts. And it's okay for you to be the bad guy at that moment and respectfully say, I have to end the relationship, because right. They don't all work out.
Because you are important and you matter, and what's best for you is the ultimate decision.
Right, and somebody guilting you into staying with them is not out of love. That's out of fear of being alone. Mm-hmm. So it's okay for you to pull that trigger and still be a good person to you. You might not be a good person to that person at the moment, and they have every right to feel that way, and you just have to respect that and eat that criticism. But you got to do what's best for you. So hopefully we have given you some advice, something useful on how to know when to walk away.
Yeah, please tell us your stories in the comments below, and let's start some conversation.
Right, because I think all of you have a story or some kind of advice on how to know when to let go.
Right.
So, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, get involved in the conversation, and until next time, This has been another episode of Co-op for Life.
Good advice
For average geeks.
Later, geeks.